explosion now of information that's coming out is causing considerable exposure of Prince Andrew. Now, people who've read my work and seen my talks over the years will know that I've been exposing the British royal family for decades and decades over their quite appalling activities. And if the British public in enough numbers realised what the royal family is and what it does, then we would be a republic in Britain very fast. But this is a crisis for the British royal family, and certainly a crisis for Prince Andrew, which is not going to go away soon, because you have to look at the background. If something like this happened long ago, it could have been suppressed, pushed under the carpet, as they say. And a lot of people would say, oh, no, the royal family wouldn't do that. But this almost childlike belief in the British royal family that many people in Britain have had has been chipped away and chipped away and chipped away over a long period. And now, vastly more people than ever before are open to the fact that they're not what they seem. And this Jeffrey Epstein story in relation to Prince Andrew is devastating, because there's no way of explaining it, given the information that's coming out, without getting at least very, very close to the truth, actually to the truth, of at least part of Andrew's involvement with this convicted paedophile, but far more than that, as I'll get into. So perhaps the most devastating thing that's happened, one of many, for Andrew this week, has been a picture of him with his head around the door of Epstein's mansion in New York as a woman left, not long after Epstein and another woman left, a young girl left. And this picture, part of a video, was taken after Epstein was convicted of paedophilia. Of course, he was convicted in a plea deal that allowed him to basically get away with it, but in a charge that could have put him in jail for the rest of his life. This is how it works. We'll protect you as long as we protect you, but or as long as we can protect you. But as soon as you get to a point of exposure where it threatens the wider ring and the big names involved in it, well, then we're going to hang you out to dry. Either we're going to have you killed, or best case scenario for him is they're going to fake his death and get him out there under a new identity, which has happened before. I'm not saying it's happened in this case, but it has happened before. Anyway, this is the first story that started unfolding in the last few days about Andrew, and it was a story actually that I included in one of my books. Prince Andrew hosted billionaire paedophile Jeffrey Epstein with a young model at Balmoral, this royal palace in Scotland, while Queen was in residence, as the royal brands it abhorrent to suggest he would condone or participate in any illegal behaviour. Oh, don't be ridiculous. Royal family's been involved in participating in illegal behaviour throughout the history of royalty. Horrific behaviour. So this is a desperate statement to head off the tidal wave that's heading towards Andrew and the British royal family. When you think, as I said in the public video cast last week, which you can see on davidicke.com, that Jimmy Savile, the record-breaking paedophile and procurer of children for the rich and famous, was in the inner bosom of the British royal family from the 60s until his death basically until his death in 2011, you can see that paedophiles and the British royal family seem to have a symbiotic relationship. And today, as I record this, I've just been looking through the Daily Mail newspaper in Britain, which is running a series of articles relating to the Epstein case, and most of them relating to Prince Andrew. So let me go to the first one here, see what that says. I'm reading some of this for the first time as well. I've scanned it, but I mean, I'm reading it in detail for the first time because I've only just seen it. Here's a story. Revealed flight logs prove Duke of York's Epstein girl was at key locations, and on each occasion, Prince Andrew was never far away. So now, the paper asks, will he help her lawyers? Well, of course, helping her lawyers in the cases that she has brought means digging a bigger hole for himself in terms of his relationship with Epstein. This is the story. Pressure was mounting on Prince Andrew last night to answer questions about his paedophile friend Jeffrey Epstein. Young victims of Epstein begged the Duke of York to help them get justice, as the prince was offered the opportunity to give sworn testimony on everything he knows. After the Duke declared himself appalled at reports of the US financier's sex abuse of teenage girls, he was offered the chance to stand by his word and help their cases. Now, first of all, how can you claim now that you are appalled at Epstein's abuse of minors, and that was the tip of the iceberg, as I'll come to, and then appear at the door of his mansion in New York years after he was convicted on a pathetic plea bargain charge, yes, but convicted of paedophilia. What nonsense it all is. But everyone will now have seen the picture of Andrew with Virginia Roberts when she was underage at the home of Epstein's former girlfriend and procurer of children for Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, whose father was a Mossad agent, Bob Maxwell, a fraudulent criminal businessman and owner of the Daily Mirror newspaper in Britain and other media publications. And he has his arm around her, around Roberts. So talk us through that, Andrew. And according to Virginia Roberts, Andrew put more than his arm around her. So the story goes on. Lawyers said they look forward to sitting down with Prince Andrew as soon as possible, suggesting that he go on the record about Epstein, whom he once reportedly vowed to be loyal to. Well, clearly he was, long after the conviction. Today it can be revealed that flight logs obtained by the Daily Mail show that one of Epstein's victims, sex slave Virginia Roberts, was flown to London, New York, and the Caribbean in 2001. She claimed that as a 17-year-old, she met the Duke in all three places, and in each case, research by the Mail suggests the Duke was in the same vicinity at the same time. Yesterday, Buckingham Palace refused to answer a series of questions concerning when and where the Duke had spent time with Epstein and Miss Roberts. There is no suggestion the flight logs support the allegation made by Miss Roberts that Epstein forced her to have sex with the Duke in those locations, and nor does it undermine his repeated emphatic denials of any sexual conduct or relationship with Miss Roberts. Well, that's a matter of a bloody opinion. Her allegations against him, initially made in court documents, were thrown out by an American judge who ordered them struck out as immaterial and impertinent. Oh, shut up. But last night, Brad Edwards, a lawyer representing Miss Roberts and others, said the Duke might have useful information about Epstein's sex trafficking operation. Are you kidding? Andrew was introduced to Epstein in the 1990s by, I think, the Mossad agent's daughter, and remained a friend even after the financier served a 13-month sentence for having sex with underage girls and became a registered sex offender. He flew to on Epstein's private plane at least 3 times and stayed at the billionaire's New York mansion in 2010, where he was photographed waving to a woman out of the front door. I'll come to who that woman was as we go along. When those photos were published over the weekend, the Duke issued a statement via Buckingham Palace. It said the Duke of York has been appalled by the recent reports of Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes. Sorry, you were staying at his mansion after he had served a prison term, pathetic as it was, for paedophilia. Quote, His Royal Highness deplores the exploitation of any human being. That's coming from a royal. That's coming from a royal dynasty that has been exploiting their fellow human beings. Some might say fellow human beings, going way back since royalty started, and still do so today. People living in the streets, while this rabble of a family are living in total luxury on the state and the backs of the people who fund them. His Royal Highness deplores the exploitation of any human being, and the suggestion he would condone, participate in, or encourage any such behaviour is abhorrent. No, Andrew, you are abhorrent, mate. In response, Mr. Edwards told the Daily Mail, it sounds like he is willing to fully cooperate. Yeah, sure he is. As we, on behalf of Jeffrey Epstein's victims, continue to investigate. For that, we are very pleased, he said, the lawyer. I would like to personally help him provide these victims with his assistance. I look forward to coordinating a formal deposition where he will be given the opportunity to tell us everything he knows. His big problem is people like Virginia Roberts telling everything they know, or Virginia Giuffre, as she's now known. The Mail flight logs investigation comes as Prince Andrew's efforts to distance himself from the scandal were plunged into turmoil. As he emerged, he had hosted the disgraced US financier and his entourage at Balmoral. Like I said, I mentioned that in one of the books somewhere. The headache for Andrew intensified as a 2011 article in Vanity Fair resurfaced, in which a friend talked about trying to persuade him to stay away from Epstein. A source told the magazine that they begged Andrew to cut Epstein off, but the Duke allegedly replied, "Stop giving me a hard time, you are such a Puritan." What? What a quote that is. And what a quote that sums up the British royal family. So the walls are closing in because statements like, oh, it's abhorrent, he would never do that, are just not washing anymore.